guys, Atomic Habits cured my burnout. I know, that sounds crazy. Matcha all over my fingers. Okay, gonna heat up some milk for my latte. Here's the issue. Our digital world gives us so much information and it's all accessible right at our little fingertips. Whatever you want to know, there's something online that tells you something about it. And the problem with that is we're constantly being inundated with that knowledge and we can't really absorb anything properly and let it process. So, when I read Atomic Habits, I decided to read it like I was a student. I read the book chapter by chapter and then gave myself a couple of days to process in between each chapter. Also, I kind of forgot to read, but you know, got our little hot matcha here. This kind of looks weird. I don't know why. Ah, that's so good. And because we're organized besties, I broke this video down for you into 3 different sections. Let's start with a really obvious one, which is waking up and not going on my phone. Honestly, I'm still pretty bad at this, but I'm trying to follow this rule where I don't miss 2 days. I can only miss 1.
I just wanted to hop in here really quickly because I didn't quite explain what the benefits of not skipping 2 days are, and there's a few. One of them is it takes the pressure off of you. If you mess up, that's okay. The second one is it leaves a little bit of hope that you're gonna actually do it properly the next day, which is a great motivating factor. And personally, I find myself getting way less down on myself and shitting on myself if I know that I can do it right tomorrow.
I like waking up early, but then because I'm so sleepy so early in the morning, I use my phone to help me to wake up early. So instead what I've been doing is I've been habit stacking. So that means that I only use my phone when I already am sitting on the couch with a cup of tea. And the reason that works is because I love my morning cup of tea. I love it. Another principle that the book talks about is doing things in phases. So that means that I'm not gonna wake up tomorrow with a perfect 4-hour morning routine where I wake up looking beautiful and then I like meditate for 2 hours and then I do this and that. Like, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen tomorrow. And if I do it tomorrow, I'll just end up really, really tired and I'll relapse even harder into my bad habits. So instead, I'm gonna break it all down into really, really small, manageable phases. Our puny little human brains, they're so small. They like for things to be easy. They want to do the most natural possible thing. And so something like a 4-hour morning routine that's like super complex is that way because that person has built up the tolerance probably over many years and through like a lifetime of discipline and good habits. And for those of us who are not like that, this is a really good way to get started. It's just adding 1 good habit in there. And then eventually you can add a 2nd and a 3rd and a 4th. And I haven't consistently worked out in a really, really long time. If I think about it clearly, I think that the last time that I had a really good, consistent workout regimen was when I was wearing an Apple Watch every day, which was probably last April or May. And since then, I honestly have not been wearing a watch and it has definitely suffered. The book discusses this concept of gamification, so using something like a habit tracker or moving marbles around when you're trying to hit a very slow incremental goal. And I have no similar thing when it comes to working out. So I'm doing a 30-day Pilates challenge, which I'm also filming now. Subscribe if you want to see it. And I'm hoping that by gamifying the process that I can find workouts that really work for me. And I'm trying to find a more discreet fitness tracker that doesn't give you like a super ugly tan on your wrist.
Let's talk about our phones. I know, I'm so sorry. I have this like insane desire. Every few minutes, I just have this like urge. I can't help it. Like I just like want to pick up my phone. I can't stop it. I recently also made a TikTok account and that has kind of made the desire explode in my brain a little bit more, because I'm like, oh my god, like who saw my videos? Like that sort of stuff that happens to everyone when they make a TikTok is also happening to me. And I personally just like don't want to be someone who's controlled by my phone and someone who's controlled by social media, because it's my life and it's what I want to make out of it. And so I'm trying to avoid kind of that situation. So I got you. I try to put as much friction, the book discusses friction, into using my phone as possible. And so what does that mean? That means that I put my phone out of my direct eye line. Excuse how messy my desk is, but I have a little laptop stand and I will stick my phone under there so that when I'm working, you see how you can't see anything? I can't see anything. Because my phone is somewhere where I can't see it, I'm not gonna use it because I kind of like forget about it. If it's in my eye line, I'm gonna pick it up, I'm gonna use it, whatever. In the same way, I always store my phone face down. You know this, like we all know this, we just don't do it. And we have these like super ancient brains that always want immediate gratification, and to slowly make it easier for delayed gratification. So like it sucks to flip your phone over, it sucks to put it away, but like if you do it, you're gonna forget about it and you're gonna be okay. And so that's kind of like the mentality I like to follow there. Also, I leave my phone on do not disturb when I'm working. The reason is I know I'm gonna check my texts. Like I know I'm gonna open my phone, I know I'm gonna look at my texts, I know I'm gonna look at my notifications, whatever it is. So I don't need that separate distraction. I'm probably gonna see them within minutes of them coming in. And so I leave my phone on do not disturb. I try to show up for myself every single day. I try to do riyaz or my scales every single day. Even if I practice for 2 minutes, today was like a maybe 10-minute practice. It wasn't a 30-minute one like I do some days, but it was something. Any progress is forward progress. Any action taken is forward action, but inaction is backwards action. And I loved that concept. There's a story or parable about this incredible violinist. And if they skip one day, then they can hear it. If they skip 1 week, then their partner can hear it. And if they skip 1 month, then their audience can hear it. You're not gonna see the effects of action or inaction immediately, but as time goes on, they're gonna become more and more apparent. Taking even the tiniest little action, like putting on your shoes to go on a walk, even if you're not gonna go on the walk, is better than doing nothing. There's a really great concept in the book about motion versus action. So motion is like, oh, like I'm doing things to prepare. But action is actually getting up and doing the thing. The downside to me not acting is a lot worse than the upside to me acting, if that makes sense. Then the last bit relating to work ethic, and then I'll shut up, is the last mile is always the least crowded. So that's another bit about delayed gratification. Say like you want to make a YouTube channel, or you want to start a small business, or you want to run a marathon. The number of people who say they want to do these things versus the number of people who actually do them is vastly different. Just in the same way where if you're running a marathon, or if you're like going on a really long hike, the last mile, the summit, is always the least crowded. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, this is an ongoing process, besties. I wouldn't expect myself to heal so quickly, and I'm not surprised that I haven't. I have this horrible habit of talking down at myself all the time, of saying really horrible things to myself in my mind. There's this SZA lyric that's similar, which is like, I hate myself enough for the two of us. Definitely in that boat. I do hate myself enough for the two of us. But at the same time, I decided to take really small incremental changes towards having a better self-image. The first change that I made was I stopped actually like repeating bad things about myself in my head. Like whenever I felt insecure about something, I let myself sit in it. My month has almost been 1% better. And every single day I wake up and I tell myself, today I can do 1% better. And most days I can. That's so much blush. And that means that every single day I kind of like try to be a little bit nicer to myself. I'm also really aware that my mental health journey is not going to improve immediately. But if I make a habit of being nice to myself,
then at least it'll feel more natural to be nice to myself, if that makes sense. And this is pretty tangential, but I was so scared about what people would think about me. I was so scared about, like, what would people say if I, became an artist or started making music, started trying to promote myself as an artist. Would people think that I was being dumb? Would people think... I was so worried about what people would think, and that honestly froze me. Like, I think I wanted to have a YouTube channel and make YouTube videos for like 10 years, and I never did it. And at this point, like, I have nothing to lose, and worst case, I learned something. And that mentality of, like, worst case, I learned something has been super, super valuable for me in the last few months. Get some gloss. I love this Tower 28 lip gloss. It's like clear. It's pretty easy to use. The one problem I have with lip gloss though is that it like gets the tube kind of gross when you dip back in, and especially with like a clear gloss, you can see it really clearly. And so I try to like put it on my finger before I go in. And the last bit of this, all of this is just to say that like every single small incremental change that you make that's positive is going to have an impact on you. You might not see it now, but eventually it'll be clear in hindsight. And so starting today and starting small and then eventually trying to do something bigger is definitely the way to go. So, yeah.
Good morning. You know when you go to a slumber party and then there's like the two people who wake up early who just kind of like have to hang out until everyone else wakes up? That right now is you and me. I have days that are good and days that are bad, but I think I've consistently been better. I'm trying to not tie my self-worth to a metric that I see online, and like if I'm not growing, then I'm not doing well. Like that's not really what I want to be defined by, if that makes sense. It's hard because the internet is such a vast place, and trying to build a platform and build an audience and say something meaningful is so hard when there's so many other people who are trying to do the same. It's almost like, why do I deserve that more than any of them? But instead of having a scarcity mindset, I'm trying to have an abundance mindset. Yeah, I'll see you later.